Hey there guys, welcome back to this channel with another video, and today in this video I will talk about this Google Pixel 7. Yes, I will talk about the Pixel 7 and not about the Pixel 7 Pro because I felt that the price to value ratio on this smartphone is way more than the Pixel 7 Pro. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Let us start with the good things that have been changed in the Google Pixel 7 in comparison to the Google Pixel 6 or 6a or the Google 6 Pro. I should not even count the Google Pixel 6 Pro because that is something more in category versus the Google Pixel 7 Pro. The design is more subtle this year around and we do not see the dual color tone on this smartphone on the back. Google released this smartphone in three different colors that includes this lemongrass color, the obsidian black and the white color. I would say that Google is being mature about their design this year. The camera housing over here is a seamless design and it blends with the smartphone even more and even better. I liked the camera visor last year on the Google Pixel 6, but again, this is a more mature design and a more mature look on the Pixel 7 series this year around. You can clearly see the dual camera setup on one side, and you have the microphone and the flashlight on the other side of the smartphone. One more thing that I've noticed with this smartphone is that now the USB type C and all the holes that you see in the smartphones and the antenna bands as well are color matched with the smartphone itself. Now, another thing which I wanted to mention about on this smartphone is the display on this one. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but the display quality on Google Pixel 7 is a plus, if not A plus plus on this one. I know the bezels on this smartphone are not seamless and you do not get H2 display, you do not get 120 Hz refresh rate, but that is another thing to talk about. Google is a software company and they know how to implement a good refresh rate on their smartphone. Even with 90 Hz, this display never felt like that it is lacking behind, it has some stutters or something. I shifted from iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is a 120 Hz variable refresh rate screen, and switching to this guy and never felt like it's a 90 Hz one. Surely it is not edge to edge like the Nothing smartphone, which is a way cheaper smartphone over here. But again, the display panel quality over here is really good. This year around, Pixel has implemented 25% more brighter screen on this smartphone with peaks at 1400 nit. So well, whenever you're outside, you would no longer complain about the outdoor visibility on Google Pixel smartphones. Also, you do not have the color shifting issue when you tilt your display in different angles. One thing I noticed is that when you look at the display really closely, you can see certain components on the top and the middle of the smartphone. I believe that one of it is for the fingerprint sensor and the another one is for the speaker on this smartphone. Next thing which I really liked on this smartphone is this smartphone is capable of unlocking with your face. I would say that this face unlock is a B plus feature for me, but again, you get some convenience. I do not like this feature a lot because it does not have implementation like eye blasters and all those areas that makes this face unlock feature a better one to use. In low light, it almost never works because it does not recognize your face. And I would say while registering the face, it is a very A or B plus experience as well. You put your face in front of your camera, you tilt your chin up, you tilt your chin down in the viewfinder, and boom, your face is registered in the face unlock feature of the Google Pixel 7. It is still a good feature to have. I know a lot of people have very bad fingerprints and they are not able to unlock their smartphones with their fingerprint. I will take an example of my mom where she has some issues with her thumbs, and because of that she almost has no fingerprints on her thumbs, and for those case I would say this is a very good feature. If you cannot unlock with your thumb, you can unlock with your face. This year, the fingerprint unlock on the smartphone is really good. And when I say good, it is about 60 to 70% better than the Pixel 6 series. I know Google used a new sensor in the Google Pixel 6a, but that smartphone was unlocking with any hand in the studio of most of the people. So I do not have a studio, but I tried that smartphone. I was able to unlock that. My friend was able to unlock that, and that was not a good experience for a company who is an excellent one in software production. But this year around, this one is a very good implementation. I have a very cheap screen protector on this smartphone installed, and even with that, I never struggled unlocking the smartphone with fingerprint scanner. Now, Google Pixel 7 has haptics which are as good as the Pixel 7 Pro this year. Last year, I think so that Google Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro had the same sensors, but the alignment of those sensors made the haptics very poor. I won't say very poor, but it was not as good as the Pixel 6 Pro as on the Google Pixel 6. But this year around, the Google Pixel 7 and the Pixel 7 Pro has almost the same haptics, and this thing is really a joy to use. The moment I unboxed my Pixel 7 and I started to navigate through the UI, I could feel the vibration motor in my hands, and it is very subtle. You try to unlock your smartphone using the fingerprint scanner, you feel the haptics. You try your camera app and you try to change the field of view, and you can feel the haptics whenever you're trying to change the field of view from 1x to 2x, 0.7x, 5x. This thing really does work very well. Now, as you can already see that I'm really liking this smartphone. I do not want to forget the cameras on this one. We already talked about the selfie camera, and the back cameras on this smartphone have been implemented really well. And I would use this word implemented because this year around Google has put in a lot of features to justify the 50 megapixel camera on this camera hardware system. It still allows you to pixel pin the 50 megapixel shot into 12.5 megapixel, and it allows a super resolution up to 5x by injecting some pixels into it, doing some AI magic and converting that image to something that is more realistic and more near to something taken from the telephoto camera itself. Again, Google is a software company, and it has proven that you do not need extra hardware to implement some of the features that can be implemented with the software itself. Good job done, Google. One new feature that I was really excited about on this camera system was that we could actually unblur the photos. So the motion unblur, it will allow you to pick any photograph from your photos application, and it will do its AI magic to unblur that photograph. So this photograph over here, it's something that was taken quite a few years back, and it was a blurred photograph. So Google did its magic and it was able to unblur the photograph. I won't say that it is 100% result, but it is quite like 50% result. It does make the photograph a little bit softer, I would say, but again, it is a software feature and it is something to take in hand, something that Google gave you, which is fantastic to start with. Now, another feature that Google included this time is the cinematic mode, and this thing is something similar to the one that we saw with the iPhone 14, the 14 Pro, 14 Pro Max. I would say that the cinematic on this one is not as good as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. At some time while recording the video, it does not allow you to blur the background really well. I think that Google might be improving this with the future camera updates, but for now it is not quite on par with the iPhones. It records at 1080p at 24 frames per second at this moment, and this is something that Google won't be able to improve with the software, as if it starts to record cinematic video at 4K, it will be a lot of juice taken out from the battery, and you really need a good processor. That is something that the Google Pixel 7 is lacking. I would talk about this in some time, but let's just continue with the camera at this moment. Another thing which I noticed on this camera system is that now in the night side photography, you can actually increase the exposure or decrease the exposure. And this was something that was available in all the Android smartphones from quite a few years. Google is surely late in doing that, but amazing job has been done by Google this year around. The selfie camera on the Google Pixel 7 is a real joy to use. It is way better than my iPhone 13 Pro Max that I have been using from the past 1 year. And it is a new improved sensor this year around. You get a 10.9 megapixel or roughly 11 megapixel sensor on this smartphone, which is an ultra wide camera, and it is capable of recording 4K at 60 fps. Yes, it does bring a smile on my face because every camera on this smartphone is capable of doing that. So you really get a very good camera setup at just $700 on this phone. Actually, 800 Canadian dollars if you buy it right now, plus taxes, which brings it to 900 Canadian dollar. But you will be able to grab this smartphone with a lot of deals right now. When I purchased this smartphone, I got a $100 gift card from Google, which brought down the price to be about 700 Canadian dollars, or I would say 800 Canadian dollars, including taxes. One of those last things that I really want to talk about on the Google Pixel 7 review is the AI on this smartphone. I really like the AI improvements, which are 60% in comparison to the Google Pixel 6 series last year, and this one does really justify. Let us take example of the clear calling functionality on this smartphone. It will allow you to suppress the background noise when you are talking to someone on smartphone. This is so simple, but yet all the companies, all the smartphone manufacturers lack to implement that feature in their phones. So this one over here is doing A++ job over here. Now, talking about the worst things on the Google Pixel 7, and I do want to talk about the hardware, which is not as competitive as the modern smartphones that we have in the market right now. I think that if Google is trying to compete in the hardware department, then it is failing by a lot. But in my opinion, Google is not really competing in the hardware department, but it is competing more like in the software department. The software is really good, but the hardware is not that good in the smartphone. Let us start with the Google G2 Tensor chip. So this chip is a 5 nanometer chip, and if I would have to rate this, I would rate it as a B plus chipset when comparing to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 8 Gen 1 Plus, the iPhone 14 Pro Maxes, A16 chip in there, and all those big flagships out there in the market. It's a 5 nanometer chipset built by Samsung. It has the Samsung 5300 modem, which is a good improvement from the last year. But the performance, the thermals on this smartphone are not on par. I would say that the thermal issues on the G2 Tensor chip are still not resolved. G1 had some thermal issues. We could feel those smartphones getting overheated, and right out of the box this smartphone was struggling and it was overheating a lot. I noticed that while charging the phone as well and playing some games, doing some video recording, this phone does tend to heat up. I won't say that it is dropping the performance while going through those thermal difficulties, but yeah, yet again another smartphone from Google that does tend to heat more than I expected. It could be that I came from iPhone 13 series, and those smartphones generally do not tend to heat as much as this one. So I might be thinking it more like, this Android smartphone is heating more, but this is just my general opinion. I got one software update ever since then, and it did reduce those thermal issues, but this is far from my perfect smartphone with less thermal issues, less heating issues that I would prefer. Now, I also tried to do some gameplay, and I was playing games like the Asphalt 9, FIFA Mobile, and Genshin Impact. One thing which I noticed with Genshin Impact is that it took me about 20 to 25 minutes to load the files, and this was something that I was not expecting. 20 minutes just for loading those files is a lot of time, Google. Asphalt 9 gameplay was almost as good as the Google Pixel 6 or any other smartphone, the cheap ones that are there in the market, because it is not as CPU intensive game. But rest other than that, Genshin Impact and the FIFA Mobile were something that was struggling on this smartphone over here. Again, Google, the software features are good and you did do a good implementation in terms of it, but when comparing this smartphone with a modern flagship, it does tend to lack in terms of performance. You know what? When the OnePlus smartphones used to be in the market, they used to be very good value to money ratio. It did not have a good camera. It did not have a, I would say, not the best battery backup in the world, but it did have the latest and the greatest flagship chipset in the market. Google is kind of going the opposite direction. It is giving you the things that most of the people do care about. Let us say, you care about the 5x digital zoom, but you do not care about the 30x zoom. So Google is implementing the same feature in terms of software performance rather than giving you a hardware for it. It is not trying to be the Xiaomi's of the world and the Samsungs of the world, where you put all the greatest sensors, all the biggest chipsets, the biggest battery in the smartphone, and slap everything together and sell it in the market. Google is doing something which is really different, but I would really like Google to implement a better chipset, at least, if not the best battery in the world, if not the best charging technology in the world, because a good chipset would be really appreciated by a lot of gamers in the market, a lot of people who like to do the graphic intensive tasks on their smartphones, and so on. So one thing that Google Pixel lacks is in the hardware department, is that the battery backup on this smartphone is about 10% less than what I was getting with the Google Pixel 6 series. And this is because the battery on this smartphone is about 10% less, which is capped about 4300 mAh. Not exactly 4300 mAh, but something near to it. And you can already see the difference in the battery backup on this smartphone over here. Google does not include any charger in the box, but this thing is capable of doing 30 watt of charging, and it is also capable of reverse charging the smartphone, and it also has the wireless charging. So that was all about the things that I did not like about Pixel 7, and those things were really less in comparison to the list of things that I really liked about the Pixel 7. I'm getting about a day and a half of battery backup on this smartphone. The charging speeds are good, if not the best in the world, and the cameras on this smartphone are just really good. The daylight condition photos, the night side photos, everything on this camera system just turns out to be A++ in terms of photography. I will be using this smartphone for more like 2 or 3 months before I really think of switching to the latest ones in the market. That would be the Samsung S23 or something that is coming up in January or February. But till then, Google Pixel 7 is a great smartphone. It is a better buy over the Google Pixel 7 Pro. If in terms of camera, you don't really need 30x zoom, a lot of people do not, and rest other than that, it's just you have a slightly better speaker system, a slightly better display on the Pixel 7 Pro, but the price to value ratio on this smartphone is unbeatable over here, and that was the reason that I chose to buy the Pixel 7 this year around instead of buying the Pixel 7 Pro. So that was all about in this video. My name is Anshul. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.